Hello, Saskia, devotional goddess here. How are you? This video, I'm talking about the effects that meditation give to the mind and the body. I always begin each yoga class with a centering meditation, and I also close each yoga class with a shavasana. Both of these states help connect us and bring us into the alpha state. The alpha state is our rest and digest. It is the place where we are in our parasympathetic nervous system. And they are often used as bookends in a yoga class because in this fast-paced society that we live in, it is well documented and well known, and our disease levels and our chronic pain and our chronic illnesses are a large reflection of our societal fight or flight, are constantly on the go, that means we're permanently or way too often in our sympathetic nervous system. It's also why a lot of people have trouble sleeping at night, because they don't know how to turn it off anymore. And we're constantly in that delta state of fight or flight, of alert. So people might fall asleep for a bit, but then they wake up again, and then before they know it, their minds are racing, and they don't know how to slow it down, how to become focused, how to become one-pointed in their attention. So there's this constant subtle drawing. Even when people are still, their minds are still racing and racing. It's like, well, I was on the couch and I was watching TV, I was relaxed. It's like, no, we're still taking in information when we're sitting on the couch watching TV. And often what we're watching is drama, which continues to stimulate the central nervous system. And our dramas have become a lot more graphic, a lot more violent. In order to hook people into television, the storyline needs to be a crisis zone, needs to be tragic, needs to be, our baseline has shifted so much that the level of stimulation that people desire has increased so much, because our baseline of what we tolerate has moved so far away from that balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So having and cultivating a meditation practice, really luxuriating in your shavasana after your own personal practice or in a class, is important beyond words right now, because it allows us to come home to self. It allows us to witness where we are overriding in our lives and where we are constantly pushing. And it really allows us to transmute that and make vital shifts and changes, not only in our synapses that fire in our minds and in our brains, but also shifting how we respond. And the more we can come back to our parasympathetic nervous system, the more we can nurture that rest and digest state, the more we can be present to our families, present to ourselves. And in doing so, we're able to see life more clearly, and we're able to make smarter, wiser, more realistic responses to decisions that we make, to relationships that we have. And when we cultivate our parasympathetic nervous system, we are able to be more present to our families. When we are able to slow down, connect to our breath, and be calm and grounded and present to the moment, we are able to nurture and nourish the connection with our loved ones. If we're constantly in fight or flight, I think we all know it, right? When you've been on the phone with someone and you can sense that they're not present. You can sense that they're saying, yes, and they're saying all the right things in the right moments, but you know that they're not fully listening. They've refined the skill of multitasking, and they're not fully present to you in that moment and in that conversation. And we also know that with our loved ones. And our children know this most of all. Parents, this is so important for us to cultivate, because our children need our presence. They need our attention. And in order to do that, we need to be well rested. We need to be able to drop in and be still with ourselves, because that is what overflows in with our children. So connecting to the parasympathetic nervous system can be as simple as being still, either standing in Tadasana, being present to your own groundedness, or seated in a chair with your feet resting on the floor, buttock bones connected to the seat of the chair. And that creates steadiness and one-pointedness in and of itself. And then you merge your breath with that connection. You merge that momentary connection to your steady, cleansing inhale and your steady, smooth, cleansing exhale. You can do this multiple times throughout the day. No one needs to be any the wiser as to what you're doing, but it allows you to be present. This is my offering to you this week, or even just for today, is to be still, find your feet, find your sits bones, and connect to your breath. So do it with me just for this moment. Find your sits bones if you're seated. Place your feet on the floor. You can be seated in a chair. You can be seated on the floor. You may be standing while listening to this. If you are, I invite you to take a pause, stop what you're doing, and just feel your feet planted on the earth. Feel your buttock bones planted on the earth, on the seat of your chair. Eyes open or closed. Exhale fully out through your nose. Pause and draw a cleansing breath in through the nose. Pause. Exhale. Long, steady, cleansing breath out. Pause. Long, steady, cleansing breath in. One more round of breath. Exhale, releasing the breath. Pause. Inhale, drawing the breath in. Pause. And exhale once again. Just pause to witness how the body feels now, just from those 4 breaths in and those 4 breaths out. Feel free to open your eyes back into the room if they were closed. Good. Remember this. It is simple, it is powerful. If you have a meditation practice, do it. Make the commitment to yourself to be able to hold it. And this is one example as to how I see my meditation practice influencing and impacting my life. And I found this very poignant. When I first started teaching in a yoga studio, one of the students really enjoyed my class. It was maybe within the first week of me teaching in that studio. And she shared with me that she had recently lost her husband. And how raw it was, and how the practice had really helped her to feel safe and at peace. And she said to me, you know, I just lost my husband. I said, I am so sorry for your loss. And I was standing in my Tadasana. I was grounded. And she looked at me. And she's like, thank you for that response. Normally, when I share that, people break down and have their response, and they weren't able to hold it for her. And that is a reflection of unhealed trauma and not being able to be grounded and steady in our own beings. Now, I know that because I've done it. I know times where I have done that in the past, that my own emotional response arises to that. And then it takes away from the person who's sharing with you what their experience is. So be aware that that is what happens when we are living in our fight and flight. But when we are able to be steady and grounded and present in ourselves, for others it overflows. And we're able to hold the space for others to share and for you to hold that. And as parents, this is really important. One, when we notice that we come out of balance when our child is having a difficult time and we lose our patience, we lose our integrity, it is either because we're depleted and exhausted and we don't have the bandwidth to hold it for another. It can also be that it's triggering a wounded part within ourselves. And linked into that as well is also the fact that when we don't know how to respond lovingly, skillfully, compassionately, it can often mean it's a tool set that we don't have within us. I recognize that when there's work that I've done on myself, I can hold it more compassionately for my child because I have healed that part within me. And when I notice that I am being irrational or not able to hold a loving space in the way that I wish, it's because there's a part of me that's still wounded and I don't have the knowledge within me with which to heal, with which to impart the wisdom that I would like to impart. And sometimes we just need to hire somebody else to do that teaching. Be it, you know, if our kids need a certain skill set that we don't have to offer at this time, we hire someone. We send them to learn Spanish. We know that with the academics, but sometimes we need it for the mental and emotional support that we don't have, be it allowing our child to have therapy, as we in tandem have therapy too. So there are a multitude of ways where our external world informs us where the healing resides, and it is our duty to ourselves to then seek out, once we become aware of where that wounded part is within us, and where we see that parasympathetic nervous system does not reside, and that we're living within our sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight, that is where stepping into stillness, cultivating that steadiness within, cultivating, healing the wounding within is empowering and enriching, and in turn will deepen our relationships with our loved ones. I hope this was a helpful message today, and let that be a practice of dropping into your breath and cultivating a deeper connection with your parasympathetic nervous system through meditation, through greater rest, through connection with your breath, and acknowledging when you have the opportunity to be fully present with your loved ones, with your hobbies, with your passions. Those are all the times when we're in our parasympathetic nervous system. Those moments where you witness your heart singing of like, oh my God, I love this. All right. Many blessings and much love to all.